It's June 22nd, 2024. It's a Saturday morning. It's early. Feels like it's going to be a good day. Today is the day I play my last gig in Nashville. Moved here in 1994. Nashville used to be so easy. You could go to the airport. You could probably get away with parking your car right in front of the gate, running in, going inside, picking up your girlfriend and walk into the car, put your bag in, and drive away. Downtown used to be easy. You could park on the street. You could get around this town very easily. There wasn't any traffic jams. And Nashville has changed greatly. Nothing is forever. All gigs end at some point, whether it's by choice or whether it's circumstances beyond your control. I've had some good gigs in this town. I've had gigs where, even in the old Nashville, where it was slow, the bar would make, $5,000 a night. We still made our 100 each or 75 each. But we helped make that bar very successful. And you would think doing that kind of business, when the town was not booming, that you'd be guaranteed to have a gig. But no, the bar decided, us being a mixed band, black and white, they didn't like the intermingled crowd that we were drawing. And they decided to just blow it up, tear it down like a deck of cards, and hire a band that played hard rock instead of what we did, which was R&B, blues, a little bit of jazz. No, they wanted to turn it into a rock and roll bar, and it didn't work. They drove everybody out, and the bar didn't last much longer after that. Nothing is forever. I told some of the younger guys that are a little bit younger than me, and they think, oh, this is Nashville, oh, it's booming, and, all this kind of stuff, and they don't see that right now from what they can see, that everything's good, and, oh, it's booming and all this. But I remember the Sunset Strip. I remember how awesome it was when it was packed every weekend, crazy packed, young kids. Man, that was a young, vibrant music scene, whether you liked hair metal or hard rock or whatever it was that prevailed there. People were playing their original songs. People were trying to get record deals. They weren't trying to get a $20 tip for playing Brown Eyed Girl. People were writing songs. People were creating, some of it was pretty derivative, but for the most part, it was an original music scene. with just a few swipes of the pen, and a few corporate decisions, was all wiped out, never to return. Go to the Sunset Strip now. It's dead. There's no young people there. The only bands that really play in those old venues, the Roxy and the Whiskey, the last two that are holding out, it seems like it's all like tribute acts, or bands from back when I played, that they get them out there to bring in some of that old crowd on a Saturday night, and they'll put, just like they did with the young bands, they'll put 5 or 6 all on one bill, or 3 or 4 all on one bill, and try to get that, squeeze that last bit of juice. Squeeze that last bit of juice out of the fruit. So, you know, all gigs end, whether it ends for you or it ends for everybody. I just watched a musician that I've known, Megan Ruger, who had left town for a little while, but she'd been here when it was, you know, mildly booming. But now Nashville is just over the top. Downtown is just absolute insanity. And she just played a gig here. She hadn't played in years. She'd gone to Vegas. She'd gone, you know, different places, done different things. And she had played her gig on a Friday night. And it was taking her an hour to drive back to the bar, get through that traffic and that insane amount of people, so she can pick up her equipment to go home. You play a 4-hour gig, and the crowd in that street is so crazy that they don't pay any attention to the fact that you're trying to get through that crowd and get home with your gear. There's no way you could get through a Friday night or Saturday night crowd if you've got a bunch of gear to take home. People are not considerate. People do not get out of the way. They are all focused on whatever they're focused on, drinking or whatever. And hey, man, I've been there. I used to knock them back. I used to be able to put back a serious amount of beer, a couple shots. Yeah. Been there, done that. Don't do it anymore. But just like the Sunset Strip, a few swipes of the pen, a few decrees from the king, and all the cards could come crashing down. Just like they did in 2020. Nashville was completely shut down. A lot of people left. A lot of people went home. So, all gigs end for me in Nashville. Today is the last gig that I will play in Nashville. It's been a long road. It's been a lot of gigs. Been a lot of character builder gigs in this town. Because when I moved here, the town was dead. There were hardly any tourists except for fanfare. And, you know, you really had to work your ass off to try and get people to come out. And if they didn't come out, you hoped you made enough money to put a few bucks worth of gas in your car so you could get home. Maybe pick up a White Castle on the way home. Yeah, dinner. Nashville's changed so much. And, you know, I don't know that it's changed for the better. I don't think it's any easier for a musician now, despite the fact that the town is booming and you can make a lot of money. But it's going to cost a lot of money to be here. I like sitting out here and listening to the birds and talking to you. It's amazing what you can do when you think about 30 years of being in Nashville. I'm going to have to bring in some of my compadres. I'll talk about it. Talk about the old days in Nashville. I did a gig maybe a month ago. And it's a younger guitar player. And we were both on the same gig. I don't normally play gigs where there's two guitar players, but we needed him. We needed him on the gig because he's a great vocalist as well. And, you know, we were backstage regaling some of the stories of the old Nashville. And he said, man, I love hearing you old guys talk about, you know, the way it was and these things, because it's so different from what they experience now. They're experiencing the boom. They're feeling it. But I don't know if they're benefiting from it. They're benefiting in a way because they're making a lot more than we made. But man, rent was $350 at one time for me. Yeah, it was a shithole. But hey, it was all I needed. Place to crash after my gig, right? You can't find anything for $350. $1,740, right? Average apartment cost. I wonder how many Broadway gigs you gotta play to make that much. I don't know. I don't play down on Broadway anymore. I barely did Broadway gigs. When I got here, that was not the path to anything unless you played you know, with the Kingmaker, the country guy. I can't even think of his name now, but you know, Brent Mason in his band, and he had Red Volkart, and he had you know, so many, you know, guys coming through that band. And he was like the Kingmaker. Daniel Donato was in that band. There was so many great guitar players came through that band, but man, that was the exception. That might have been the one place that got a buzz because of the guitar players that were hired. And so, you know, word got out. But other than that, and I'm not a country player. Yeah, I got plaques on my wall from playing on a country album. But man, I'm more city than country. Yeah, I grew up in a small town, but I play like somebody from the city, not somebody that chicken picked and put hay in his mouth and wore overalls. I never wore overalls. Didn't like them. But I'm thankful that there was a place for me here in Nashville. I'm thankful I was able to find great musicians to play with. Man, I think about some of the guys I played with over the years. I mean, I was lucky when I grew up that, you know, I met the Wooten brothers, and what great guys they are. Victor Wooten. I mean, I was jamming with him when I was like 17. 18 years old, hanging out with those guys. Those guys would come over to my house every Wednesday night, and we would jam till all hours. I had a house with no parental supervision from midnight till 8 in the morning, and they would show up 12:15, 12:30, and we would jam. We would jam till you couldn't take it anymore. There were times I think I'd let them keep playing and be 5 a.m. and I'd go crash in the basement or something. But those guys helped me get started in this town. And I played everything but country. I played R&B, played rock, played folk. And only when country music changed and had more rock in it, and it was more like arena rock, that's when I got the call to do those kind of gigs. So they needed a rock guitar player. They didn't need a chicken picker. They didn't need Brent Mason to play the arena. You need somebody who knows how to hit that power chord and make it go crang, crang, boom, crang, boom, crang. That's what you need in an arena. Yeah, I guess you could chicken pick in there if you want. And usually bands will have two guys. One guy that does the traditional stuff and one guy that rocks. I was always the rock guy. It's in my blood. I got a diploma from the Sunset Strip. So all things end, and my time in Nashville will unofficially come to a close tonight after I play the last note of my gig. It's going to be a fun one, and fortunate for me, it's not a character builder. We're going to play about an hour and 45 minutes straight, and then we're done. That's how I like to do it. Hit them in the eye and go home. Thanks everybody for watching.